In the modern world, great leaders resolve their conflicts with words. Step launcher. Carbon bomb. Tomahawk missiles.
Hello everybody, welcome to Command & Conquer Generals, the 2003 RTS that's honestly underrated, especially for the franchise Command & Conquer. This was the first 3D RTS game Command & Conquer tried doing. It wasn't the first full 3D game because, well, there's Command & Conquer Renegade. We'll talk about that eventually, but as of right now, it's Command & Conquer's Generals time. This game, like I said, came out in 2003, and making it basically 20 years old. I mean, I believe, 21, 22, whatever. You get it. Unlike my last video where I talked about Micro Machines, where basically no one's ever heard of the series, Command & Conquer, for the most part, has been known for making some of the best real-time strategy games, or RTSs, for its time. And for the most part, until recently, or well, I should say like the mid, maybe early 2010s, they have made some pretty good games. I can definitely account to that. One of them being Command & Conquer Generals. In my opinion, this is one of the more underrated games of the series, as its whole gist is they want to take place in the modern day, or at least at the time, the modern day. This is 2003 for you. This would be a good time to transition into the plot or the story of Command & Conquer Generals. There are three main factions: the Americans, or the USA, the Chinese, and then the big bad faction known as the GLA, or the Global Liberation Army. The GLA's whole main goal, if I remember right, is to basically get the Americans or any big foreign powers out of their kind of like, territory / basically just the Middle East. The thing is, the way they do it often is very unethical. Just to say, if you play the Command & Conquer Generals story before, you could understand what I mean.
Go now, mow down the sheep and take what is rightfully ours.
Anyways, each faction in this game has their own sort of tactic or strategy. For example, the Americans have advanced but yet expensive technology, like, American superiority with all the jet fighters, laser equipment, and even particle beams. The GLA uses more guerrilla tactics and have a lot more militia units than anything. They're cheap and, very quick to train, but they aren't very, strong or powerful. So often you have to pick your battles rather than just go straight towards the enemy, because depending on how many units or how well defended they are, you could get outmatched due to the quality of your unit. Some GLA units have quirks like toxins or explosives or stealth, which gives them the edge in battle depending on their opponent's strategy. Then you have the Chinese, which are kind of like a weird mix between the US and the GLA. Their tactic, quote unquote, is supposed to be overwhelming force. Usually their units are produced faster and they perform better when attacking in a group of tanks or infantry. Because of this quirk, you can often see the Chinese CPU spam a bunch of Chinese infantry or tanks depending on the stage of the game. As you get to the late game, they actually unlock nuclear technologies, which makes their tanks a lot better. If we go to Command & Conquer Generals 0 Hour, the expansion pack for Command & Conquer Generals, we actually get way more generals, or I guess, how should I say, factions within factions, or I guess subdivisions and factions, whatever the right term is. You know how I said that each little, faction has their own quirk. For example, the US has the Air Force and advanced technology. Well, in Command & Conquer General Zero Hour, Air Force has the US Air Force General, which is obviously good in the air, but it actually has some pros and cons to it. For example, you cannot build any kind of tank as Air Force General, which, depending on how you play, can really kill you. But because of how good their aircraft is, they can well make up for the lack of tanks. It's the same thing with the GLA in China, with, for example, the GLA having Stealth General, making most of their units and buildings stealth, but yet again, they don't have any tanks. In my opinion, GLA Stealth General is not, in my opinion, is one of the worst generals, at least, in my opinion. I know Command & Conquer has a competitive scene and Stealth General is really good, blah blah blah. I don't care. It's Stealth General makes me want to rip my hair out, because there's not really many tactics you can do with Stealth General except for like 2. Similarly, China has China Infantry General, which, like the name implies, their general is really good with infantry. The thing is about them, they don't have any tanks or really any armor. But because of how good their infantry is, at least in my opinion, they can well make up for it. It's just, God forbid you have a sniper, because, oh man, it's going to be a field day. Like I said before, Command & Conquer Generals has a competitive scene, and when you have a competitive scene, that also includes multiplayer. Yes, you can play multiplayer in this 20-year-old game. Thing is, it's a bit of a weird process, because you gotta download a bunch of different like external stuff just to get multiplayer to run. But it's not, you can definitely run it. It's not impossible, thank God, because it's just a bit weird. You're gonna definitely have to do some research online, because it's always updating and there's always like different ways to do it, blah blah blah. If I remember right, Command & Conquer Generals has there's a fan-made Discord, which I would recommend joining if you are very keen on this game. I'll have the link of the Discord either on the video or in the description, whatever I do. I'll probably do both. I mean, either way. The Discord, if I remember, it has like over 1,000 members. So if you ever want to play Command & Conquer Generals with someone and not just against the hard CPU or whatever, yeah, you can do that. Now, the last thing I'll be talking about is modding for Command & Conquer General Zero Hour. Now, there's other stuff I can be talking about, especially more in depth, but I don't feel like going through, I don't feel like taking 10 years off your life, because I've already taken 8 minutes. No need to go any farther than this. I might make a separate video talking more in depth about Command & Conquer, but that's if this video even gets that popular in the first place. Anyways, modding. So Command & Conquer, for the longest time, has had a modding scene, and there's been multiple phenomenal mods that completely overhauled the entire game. For example, there's mods like Contra, Shockwave mod, and I think Firestorm. There's more out there. These mods often go above and beyond what's expected from most mods from other games, often changing most aspects or mechanics that have already been implemented before. Sometimes they'll just add their own mechanics, and besides from that, they also add their own units and even add cut content from the game, which makes it very surprising, because this is cut content, and usually when something gets cut, you don't really hear much about it. But most of these mods usually add back to what they were originally supposed to be, even if it's a bit broken or not. If you want my recommendation on picking a mod to play for Command & Conquer, I would recommend picking Command & Conquer Shockwave mod, because this is it's the closest thing to playing like normal Command & Conquer, but with just like a slight bit of tweaks. It's not like some mods where it completely changes every aspect, because I believe it's Contra. Infantry was some kind of like missile launcher, or your rocket infantry, whatever you want to call it, normally can aim at tanks and aircraft, and also infantry, but whatever. The thing is, in Contra, at least I think that's the right mod, you need a whole separate thing, because now they can only aim at tanks, which, in some cases is a bit annoying, because now you have to wait and spend like other time and money on a whole different infantry you don't really need. And that's it for today's video about Command & Conquer Generals and, you know, the little expansion pack 0 Hour. It's just, like I said, this game is very underrated and not a lot of people, especially these days, talk about it as much, and I feel like it should get a bit more attention, and that's why I made this video. I'll try to keep making more videos like this where, you know, I could try, you know, I'm not just posting memes. I would love to do more little, I guess, you know, reviews on old games people barely heard of. If you guys like it, just give a comment, like, blah blah blah. I'll try, I think for the next video similar to this, I'll do a poll, and depending on what you guys vote for, I'll do a little review on that. Either way, that's it for today. Goodbye, guys.
Blah 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 blah. Look. Lingango liguli guli wata lingango 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 liguli guli wata lingango 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 liguli guli wata.